Welcome to Faith in Recovery with Anthony Acampora. We're so glad you could join us as we discover how God can have a profound impact on your life.
Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you.
Now, here is your host, Anthony Acampora.
Really blessed and excited to have a platform here to share a message of hope to the lives that have been shattered with addiction. It's just the epidemic out there is just, it's out of control. It really is. We see the results of it on a daily basis at Banyan Treatment Center. One positive out of it, you hear so many negative things about addiction and what it's doing to people in their lives, and there's a positive, there's hope out there, and we believe the hope is in Christ, and that's what we lead people to. Faith in Recovery radio show will focus on the areas of faith-based approaches to addiction, advice and insight for families of those addicted. You know, sometimes the families, they suffer more than the people that are actually addicted. And what I mean by that is they're in the dark a lot of times. They don't know what's actually happening and what's going on. They're sitting by the phone waiting for that call, you know, in the middle of the night. And when someone's in active addiction, a lot of times you're focusing on self. You're not really thinking too much about the people that you're hurting, you know. The focus is, you know, self. And it's very, very difficult. I see this over and over at the treatment center with the families. And when someone goes into treatment, they start to get better. They start to get stronger. They start to learn coping skills. They start to understand what addiction is all about. And a lot of times the families are still, they don't really know what's going on unless we communicate with them. So it's a very difficult situation for the families. And we're going to focus a lot on that. Insight on what you could do, what you could look for, what's going on in treatment centers, that to shed some light to these family members that are suffering. Also, we're going to be talking about applying God's word in our life. You know, actually applying it. Not just reading it. James says, be doers of the word, not just hearers only, deceiving yourselves. So, I mean, we could go to church for 25 years and hear a sermon preached by a pastor, and as soon as we walk out, we're doing the same things when we walked in with. So what we try to do at Faith in Recovery at Banyan is we try to not only give this information, but we also practice this stuff with our clients. Okay, we challenge them to practice it. How do we get better at forgiving someone? Which is a big issue with a lot of people coming into treatment, is unforgiveness, resentments, grudges. How do we get better at that? By practicing forgiveness. Okay, whatever we're doing here, we're practicing it. I'm also the director and the chaplain at Banyan Treatment Center's Faith and Recovery program. Banyan is just a really special place. I've been there a little over 2 years. Our CEO, Joe Tuttle, and our COO, Eric Oakes, just huge hearts and incredible insight and vision and leadership. Just absolutely incredible what's been going on there. And they care. You know, I've noticed it right when I started there, that they actually very, very much care about the people that are working there. So it's a beautiful place to be, and it's expanding. The growth has been tremendous. In fact, Eric Oakes, our COO, is going to be a guest on the show next week. So we're excited to have that, and looking forward to having Eric on. And Faith and Recovery Program is a non-denominational, Christ-centered, faith-based program. We accept clients from all Christian denominations as well as those with no faith at all. A lot of the clients that come in with no faith at all, or they've never even stepped foot in a church, they do phenomenal. They don't have sometimes the pre-existing notions of what church is about. A lot of times when we tell people about this program, they hear faith, they hear Bible, they hear God, they run the other way. And it's really sad that that happens. It's such a misconception of what Christianity really is. What the teachings of Jesus were. Okay, it had nothing to do with judgment. Okay, it was all about mercy. It was all about grace, and that was his approach. He surrounded himself with the worst people there was back in the day. So, what we try to do is we explain to them and let them see that it's a non-judgmental approach. Okay, to treatment. It's a non-condemning approach, and oftentimes we have clients from the existing program at Banyan, which is our traditional program. They notice the difference. They notice a change in the people that are in our program. I had a great testimony of a client. I had him speak a couple of times, once at a luncheon called Banyan Unity Luncheon, and he also spoke at another luncheon at Banyan. And one of the and this kid was probably one of the worst clients we've had in a while. And he came up there and he was very he was rejecting everything and challenging everything, and wasn't buying into anything we were telling him about this. But he said this, and I thought it was really interesting. He said this at both of these events. He said, I noticed something in the eyes of the clients in the Faith and Recovery program at Banyan. And then he said, when we went to Calvary Chapel in Fort Lauderdale, that's where we go on Sundays, he said, I noticed something in the eyes of some of the clients there as well. And he goes, I don't know what it was, but I wanted it, okay? And that's really the approach he took. He started seeking. And really what we're trying to do is seek God with all of our heart. We're trying to promote not using God as a spare tire in case there's an emergency. That was basically my relationship with God for years. I would pray once in a while. I was a CEO Christian, right? Christmas, Easter only. and that was it. That was pretty much my relationship. And if something went wrong or there was an emergency, I'd call on him, like a spare tire, you know? We want to use God as a steering wheel, okay? We're the co-pilot. We're not the pilot. You see these bumper stickers sometimes, God is my co-pilot. Nothing could be further from the truth, right? We're the co-pilot. When we're driving, we usually get lost in life, and we go down a lot of wrong streets and things. And he's the pilot, we're the co-pilot, or we're in the back seat somewhere. And that's really the way we want to approach it. So those are some of the things that we do at Banyan's Faith and Recovery Program. We have a daily devotional that is each morning for an hour. We start our day with daily devotionals. We read out of Sarah Young's devotion. This is an optional program. It's a program where clients who aren't even in the faith program could come up and sit through, and a lot of them do. We have another program called Integrating Faith and Recovery. We have a weekly Bible study. We have a grief and loss program, Managing Emotions group, Biblical Anger Resolution. So these are just some of the groups that we have at Banyan Treatment Center. It's also an integration with faith and clinical. So we have clinical groups as well that are done by faith therapists. And one of those groups is grief and loss. Managing emotions is another one. So it's an integration. Some of them are faith groups. Some of them are actually clinical groups. Okay, we've had 224 clients water baptized. We've also had 143 guest speakers. I like to keep it moving. I like to keep different speakers, different approaches with this program. It gets kind of boring if the same person is speaking every day, especially if it's me, you know. And usually if people don't laugh at that, that's not a good sign. But anyway, what we want to talk about here today, that's kind of an overview of the Faith and Recovery Program. If anyone has any questions, or you have someone that you think could benefit, someone that's dealing with addiction, a family member, or you yourself, I'm going to put our number out there, and feel free to call or check out our website. My number is 201, it's toll free, 201-538-2754. 201-538-2754. Again, any questions, you're not sure of something, you want some insight on addiction and substance abuse and those types of things, or you have someone that really, you know that they need to be in a treatment program like this, okay? Always feel free to give a call. Check out our website at faithandrecovery.com. So it's www.faithandrecovery.com. What I wanted to talk about today is how faith and addiction work together for better results, okay? Some programs, some centers have this type of programming, and they call it a track, and a lot of times it's a Bible study, and sometimes they take them to church and these types of things. This program at Banyan, this Faith and Recovery Program, this is a comprehensive program. It comes out to about 39 hours a week of programming. I've experienced addiction, not just from working in the field, but also experienced it myself. Gambling, alcohol, prescription drug abuse. This went on for a period of about 7 years. I was coming out of the corporate security world. I was a director of corporate security. I was never in this field. I ended up having major depression back in 2006, major anxiety, which led into a lot of these other things. What we try to do is medicate pain. Nobody wants to feel pain. We're in such a dark place with depression or anxiety or whatever else we're dealing with, trauma, things that we've experienced. We don't want to feel them, so what do? We end up using a substance that works for a little while. The problem is there's a lot of consequence that, come with that, plus everything it's doing to our body. So what we try to do, what I didn't do in a lot of treatment centers that I was in from that period of time, I didn't get to the root cause, okay? The root cause of why I was using something, why I was going into a casino drinking for 10, 12 hours a day. I was in such a dark place that I didn't want to feel that. So that was like an alternate lifestyle. It was like an illusion. It was an illusion, really. You don't have to think about everything. You could forget about it for a while, that type of thing. So basically what is imperative in treatment is identifying the root causes of why we used. The addiction, the substance abuse, that's like the tip of the iceberg, if you want to think of it like that. That's the cause, the underlying causes, the underlying issues, the root causes. That's what we need to focus on. Why don't people want to focus on that? Because there's a lot of pain that surrounds it, right? And that's why we used something to begin with, so we didn't have to feel that pain. What happens is the pain gets so bad, it gets to the point, it's kind of like when you have a toothache and you don't want to go to the dentist because you're afraid of the dentist and you don't want to sit in that chair. Usually I've always had good experience with dentists. I've had some really funny ones. They're usually pretty good guys. But who wants to go to the dentist, right? But the pain gets so bad, it's unbearable that it's like, you know what? I'll sit in a dentist chair for an hour, to avoid this pain. And we go there, and yeah, it's painful during the visit to the dentist, but then it's over with. Then we don't have that pain. And that's kind of what we have to do with addiction, with these root causes. We have to go through them to heal from them. We have to feel the pain, right? And that is not a comfortable thing to do. People that go into treatment, I give a lot of credit, because basically what's happening is you're stripped of whatever if you want to call it a coping skill or a crutch or whatever, which is the substance itself, the alcohol, the drugs. And now you're in a place where you don't really know people that well. And we're telling you to get to the root causes and to talk about this stuff in front of people that you don't even really know. Not easy to do, okay? Very difficult, but it has to happen. Otherwise, you're in and out of these places. You're not getting to the root cause. You're not resolving. It's kind of like a weed on, a lawn. Whoever cuts lawns out there, I know I used to. And, these weeds keep growing back every week, right? And we cut them every week. But what do we have to do? We have to rip them out. We have to pull them out from the root. And that's what has to happen with the pain, with the trauma, with the unforgiveness, with whatever it is that this person and you may be dealing with, your loved one is dealing with, or you may be dealing with right now. Okay? Because it's still going to be there. Whether you're in 10 treatment centers or for, a month at a time or 2 months or whatever it is, that issue is still there. It's unresolved. So even though physically you were in a treatment center, have to get to the root cause, okay? And also when you're in the treatment center, try to stay in the present moment. I used to be in my head all the time. I was everywhere other than where I actually physically was. I was in the past. I lived in 2005 and 6 for probably about 6 or 7 years in my head. I carried that with me wherever I was. It was always in the back of my mind. I mean, the unforgiveness for me was so bad. I'd be in church at Calvary Chapel, and I'd see someone that looked like someone that I had a lot of resentments towards. One guy was actually a band member. He played the guitar, and I'd see this guy, and I'd start like sweating. And a couple times, I actually had to leave. Right now, why would I want to empower someone that already hurt me once years before to hurt me over and over again? But that's basically what we do when we have unforgiveness, when we're holding on to grudges. We're allowing that person to hurt us over and over again in our minds, in our thoughts. The definition of worry is to torment yourself with your own thoughts. And that's basically what I did for 7 years. I could have had a PhD in tormenting myself with my own thoughts. It was brutal. And it makes no sense. The key to getting out of that, to unlocking that door, is forgiveness, right? Jesus talked about it in the Sermon on the Mount. We say it in the Lord's Prayer. We profess it in the Our Father in the Lord's Prayer. Okay? Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. God's hearing that. You might be at an AA meeting and you might say that every time at the end of the meeting. Or you may say it, every day, that prayer. That's the Lord's Prayer. That's from the Sermon on the Mount. They asked Jesus, how do we pray? He said, pray in this manner. Right? So we're putting that out there. We're basically asking God to forgive us the same way we're forgiving others. So if you're harboring resentments, maybe for years, or maybe for a couple of months, whatever it is, the way to get out of that state of unease, that state of anxiety, that state of anger, okay, is forgiveness. Okay, and the first thing you have to do is start off as asking God to forgive you for harboring the resentments and unforgiveness. And he will strengthen you and he will give you ability to forgive. We're not going to be able to do it on our own. If you're just joining us, I'm Anthony Acampora with Banyan Treatment Center's Faith and Recovery Program. If you're dealing with addiction or you know someone that is, you're suffering from addiction and alcohol, drugs, always feel free to give us a call, 201-538-2754. That's toll free, 201-538-2754. Or visit us on our website at faithinrecovery.com, faithinrecovery.com. How faith provides strength in recovery. We're going to be talking about that a little bit now. Individuals draw strength and resilience from their faith. The key, what I believe, what I did wrong for many years, basically what I'm talking about is things that I didn't do. Okay, so hopefully people could learn from my experiences. Surrounding yourself with the right people, okay? The camaraderie that you could obtain from the church, from Celebrate Recovery services, those types of things are imperative, okay? It's extremely important. My father used to always say this, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are, right? I never listened, right? We don't listen when we're younger. It would be great if we actually did and learn from our parents or loved ones' experience, but we usually don't. We have to go through it ourselves, right? So how do you know that's true? Tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. Anybody's on Facebook, you ever get a friend request, what do? The first thing you do is look at who their friends are. That's how you could tell where you know them from. Do you know them from school? Do you know them from wherever? And so it's very true. Tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. The camaraderie, right, is extremely important. The fellowship, how it's called in the faith circles. You have to have people that are encouraging you, surrounding you, not people that are discouraging you. We see it time and time again, right? And someone goes through treatment, they do phenomenal, right? They're going to church, they're reading the Bible, they're praying. They're starting to develop a relationship with God. And that's really what the goal is, to develop a relationship with God, okay? And then they go back and they go right back to those same people, places, and things. And it's extremely difficult to succeed in recovery if we're going back to those same people. They're going to draw us back in. A lot of times what I used to get is, what happened to you? What is this stuff with the Bible? We're going out. Come on, let's go. We miss you. And basically what I think happens is your friends miss who you were, right? When you were out there using and drinking and all that type of stuff. So for them who may not have had an addictive personality, it was a lot of fun. And they're still doing it. For those who have an addicted personality like myself, it turns into a total disaster. You don't want to be that old person. You don't want to be the person that you used to be. So the key, I believe, is to surround yourself with different people. Okay, you don't have to be mean about it. You can still talk to them, but you don't want to be surrounded with them because you're going to get pulled back into those old patterns of behavior. We want to identify those people, okay, and we want to eliminate those people and replace. You have to replace it. I tried this too, isolating, just sitting home. I used to read the Bible. I used to watch TBN every night. And, you start to get bored. You start to miss people, okay? And so that's no good either. You have to replace that. Think about if you had an apartment and you got rid of all your old furniture and you never replaced it, right? And you're sitting there on the floor with no furniture. You're missing your old big screen TV, and you're just sitting there, right? Say you replace that old furniture with new furniture. Now you have a new TV, you have a new couch. You don't even think about that old furniture, right? Because you replaced it with new. Same type of thing has to happen with the people, places, and things. You have to replace it. Instead of going to the casino on Wednesday nights and Saturday nights for 12 hours, I go to church, right? Instead of going to happy hour on Fridays, I go to Celebrate Recovery, right? So I'm replacing these people, places, and things because I'm meeting new people, right? It's very, very important. You know, a lot of times we deal with people that say, well, what about the 12 steps? What about the that type of program? What people don't realize is the 12 steps, you know, AA, NA, the principles of that program came from the Sermon on the Mount, okay? It came from the book of James. That's where it originated from. So it's not something. Celebrate Recovery is a great program. It started by Rick Warren, Saddleback Church. Rick's author of Purpose Driven Life. It's an amazing program, you know. So I would encourage you to encourage others to try these programs out, okay? Because a lot of times we think, well, I'm never going to have fun doing this. Everything I've always done revolves around drinking. I can't do anything. I can't have any fun without that. We've been blessed by Calvary Chapel. We have a great partnership with them. They do our baptisms, which we do every other month. They do private ones for us. They have these barbecues, and they've had 4 of them so far. We do it about every quarter. And it's for all of our clients at Banyan. It's not even just the faith program clients. And one of the things on a Monday after that barbecue, we had one of the devotionals, and it was clients from the regular program. It's an optional program, so they come up for that. And one of the things that a few of them said was, I cannot believe I actually had fun. I was laughing, and I wasn't high, or I wasn't drunk. It was actually amazing. They were astonished by this. They couldn't believe it. And until we actually step out and start doing these things where we're not drunk and we're in environments where people aren't high and drunk and everything, you're going to realize that you actually can have fun, and you will have fun. And you'll wake up the next day and not feel horrible with some of the things you did and said, and also being hungover and that type of thing. So I encourage you to get plugged into the local churches, okay, wherever it is. Champions City Church is an excellent church in Orlando. Pastors Sandra Saraga and Pastor Alex Saraga, absolutely incredible. Get plugged in wherever it is. Get plugged into a church. There's so many different ministries and things that you could do. The key is to stay busy, stay active, okay? And, you know, that is extremely important. The other thing, you know, we talk about is transparency, being completely honest, being completely open, okay? Faith encourages honesty, while addiction depends on secrets. When you're in active addiction, you constantly have to come up with stories and lies and manipulations, where you were, what you were doing, why you didn't show up for something, that type of thing. It's so much easier. The Bible says the truth will make you free, right? That's what we want to focus on. We want to be truthful. We want to be honest. Faith teaches patience, while addiction encourages instant gratification. We focus a lot on the fruit of the Spirit, right? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control, right? That's what we want to feed. We want to feed not the sinful nature, not the, envy, jealousy, grudges, unforgiveness. We want to feed the Spirit, okay? And we want to get stronger. We want to build up spiritual muscle, okay? So that's what we talk about in this program. We are so glad that you are joining us here, and please join us every week on Saturdays. If you have questions, if you have someone that you think is dealing with addiction, or you're not sure about those types of things, call 201-538-2754. My name is Anthony Acampora. This is Faith in Recovery, Banyan Treatment Center's Faith in Recovery program.
Thank you for joining us for Faith in Recovery with Anthony Acampora, as we discover how God can have a profound impact on your life. Connect with Anthony and the Banyan Treatment Center online at banyantreatmentcenter.com, providing growth through recovery. Don't forget to join us next week at this very same time. Faith in Recovery is paid for